G'day listeners and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Australia podcast, powered by Australian Property Scout Buyers Agency. I'm your host, Sammy Gordon, and today, guys, we are in for a mindset episode. I have big Jimmy Ibrahim back in the studio with his notepad, his notebook, and he wants to talk mindset. Mate, Jimmy, welcome back.
G'day, Sammy boy. G'day, listeners, and welcome back to the podcast. Yes, it is always great to come up here, Sammy, and talk about the intangibles. And I know we talk about this kind of stuff a lot off air.
Yes.
And I think it's important to constantly remind the listeners, and they've heard us talk about this before, but constantly remind the people that the game is often won and lost in between your two ears. You are your own worst enemy. That battle, the Mr. or Mrs. Resistance that often sits on your shoulder, and from the minute you wake up, it's busting your ass, telling you all the shit you can't do. So fear, and I thought it was quite timely to talk about fear because there is a lot of fear in the market. There's a lot of fear in the economy. There's a lot of fear about, it's natural. Fear sells. So what can we do to empower our good listeners just to give them some tips? And we're not the oracle. We're not the expert. We're not the, you probably think you are. But for the average person.
You look like you are, about a 3,000-year-old woman.
But I think these kind of things, not only are they great for the listeners, but they're great for us, right? To remind yourself. And so we thought, let's get some punchy episodes. This is not going to be a super long episode, but if you can listen to this, give you that little pep up, get you back on track, and keep you moving forward. We've done our job.
Jimmy, mate, I love it. We haven't done a mindset episode for a while, especially you and I one-on-one. Dude, I don't feel like I don't know. It feels like it's been ages, man.
Actually, the first one we did is at the start of 2025.
Oh, true. Which we recorded in probably December, something like that. So it's been 4 months since we recorded because it's late March in terms of recording this right now. And man, I think it's always prudent because even if it is once a quarter that we jump on and we give everyone a bit of a pep talk and a bit of zizz in their step talking about this, man, I think it's worthwhile because it's in all reality, man, it's regular that things pop up in an investing journey. And I think, man, like having that bulletproof mindset and continually, honing in and sharpening the sword on that side of things is important because of how much does pop up in the journey, whether it's from a lending perspective or from a property management perspective or going through headaches with a buying process, especially if you're buying aggressively and building the portfolio aggressively, like most of our clients do and want to do, and most of the listeners I know are pretty primed up to do as well, then man, I think it's one of those things, man, it's super relevant to get back in, go hard on this sort of thing, man, reinforce it, and man, like bolt in that mindset, man, that bulletproof mindset. So I'm keen, man. I'm keen to see you got. I don't even know what you've even got there for me today, mate. You're the one with the notepad as usual, and I'm just, mate. I'm just going to be here to be the test dummy to go against you.
Yeah, well, I just thought to bring up a couple of key points that just came to mind, and I thought it would be great for us to discuss them. And for the people listening out there, what I don't want you to do is be listening to this, judging what we are saying in the sense of what do we know, or because you're not getting anything out of that, right? Put yourself in the mindset that if there's one thing you take out of today, and if you understand compounding interest in any aspect of life, if there's one thing you take away from this, it is going to be worthwhile because tomorrow is a new day. And if you think about over 365 days, you take one little thing, imagine that compounding effect. So you've got two ears and one mouth for a reason. Listen, absorb, try and take something out of it, and I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Man, I think what I really like about this, and even the mindset episodes in general, it's probably a worthwhile thing for people to do, to go back and listen to different mindset episodes at different times. And
100%.
This may be super relevant. You might listen to this at time of release, and then you might listen to it again in 6 months. And if you're having an active investing journey, the things that are going to resonate with you now compared to in 6 months, compared to in 6 years, will be completely different because we're all going through different things and all going through different stages of growth as well, whether it's within, business or whether it's within a portfolio, which your portfolio should be treating like a business. And man, I think it's super relevant regardless of where someone's at because people's problems they're always going to be problems. They're just going to be at different sizes. Whether you got a 0, 1, 2 property portfolio or a 1, 200 property portfolio, man, people are always going to have problems. They're just going to be at different sizes. Yeah. So I think like it's super relevant and relative. And I think like listening to this now and us doing this now compared to if we did this in 12 months, we probably would even have a slightly different take on different things in here too because our experiences are going to change. Yeah. And I know you yourself are going through an aggressive growth piece in your portfolio. You're transitioning into commercial as well, picking up some nice cash flow assets down that avenue. Man, you're going to come into new things that you don't understand, and they're going to, stress you out and everything as well. It's all part of the process, man. So, man, I'm excited to dive into this
let's
today
get into it.
And unpack it.
And the other good thing about this is we're talking mainly around property and investing. But
Yes.
if you think about some of the principles here, and the thing I love about it, it can actually transfer to a lot of other aspects in your life. And at the end of the day, we all want to be happier. We all want to be more content. We want to, contribute to the people that we love. So if there's something that you pick up, it is transferable. This is not completely isolated to investing. So I thought a really good place to start is just to really, really dumb it down and understand the fear of investing, or just understanding what the notion of fear is. And I think people get confused thinking that you only have fear when you are starting out, or you're only fearful if you're weak, or it's not normal to feel fear. So I think people have a really different and a disconnect to understanding what it is. And it's natural. It is natural to be fearful of the things you don't understand or you're not experienced in. Think about that notion. If someone said to you, Sammy, I need you to do heart surgery tomorrow, on this particular lady. She's 85. This is going to save her life, or she's going to die. I need you to do it. You'd be shitting yourself. Of course you're going to be fearful because you don't have any slightest understanding of it.
I would just YouTube it and give it a good crack.
Get on TikTok. There'll be a little cheat note. So you are meant to be fearful of things. And what is fear? Fear is a way of getting you prepared for something you don't know. And if you think about in property.
Well, the thing is, one quick thing before you go into this in terms of in property, man, I think the thing that everyone needs to understand is everyone has fear. And for anyone that, I don't get fear. Everyone has fear. Everyone has fear, right? Fear is a natural state that your body goes into when it is preparing to protect itself, right? It's a fight for survival. It's like when something happens, or you think something's going to happen, that fear, or potentially just whatever pops into you for a second, that adrenaline spike is effectively your body reacting to something going to happen. And it can happen with anything in the portfolio or in business or on the side of the street or a car about to run into you or something like that. Like all these things are very, very natural. Having fear or a level of fear is extremely normal. And I think the biggest thing and the biggest growth you ever will go through, and there's a reason why there's a saying of you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because the more fearful situations you put yourself in, there's the more uncomfortable situations, which in reality, being uncomfortable is because you're fearful of something happening, right? Like of something that you don't, it's a situation that is an unknown. And man, the more of those that you put yourself in, the more growth you're going to have. And regardless of whether you're a first-time investor buying your first house, the most fearful thing you will probably ever do for most people is buying your first house, pulling that trigger. Is it the right thing to do? I'm going unconditional. I'm settling on it. Is it the right thing? And there should always be a level of excitement as well. But man, it's almost always, there's going to be a level of fear involved with it, as well, man, which is only natural.
Yeah.
So I think but then obviously we're talking about building bigger portfolios, scaling portfolios, and obviously, what comes alongside that as well.
And if you think about where fear, for a lot of people, a lot of fear, especially when it comes to finances, is, as I said before, you don't understand it. And if you think about it for most people growing up, most kids, your parents are trying to protect you, right? So they're trying to stop you from doing things because of the fear of you getting hurt. When it comes to finances, the fear of losing money is a really big thing. No one wants to lose money, but the fear of, like, the psychological fear of the way you've been brought up is, we often talk about your money story. So where is that linked? Where does that start from? Well, often you get the money story from your parents. Where do your parents get their money story? They get their money story from their parents.
Their parents and or their experiences.
So you either get it handed down from your parents who have either made a mistake and they've been burnt, so they're going to pass that on to you. No, you don't do that. And how often do we see clients getting told from their family and friends, no, you shouldn't be investing there. Only buy where you live. It's littered with mistakes that people make based on their own fears. And often it's based on their experiences and they're projecting it onto you, not to actually set you up to lose, but that's their only reference point. How is your parents going to tell you to do something with an abundant mindset if they've lost money and they're scarce?
And I don't know where to what level you're looking to take this as well, and what your even notes are here, man. But I think the key, there's two key points here in my mind. And the first one is mentor, and the second one is education. I'll dive into this 100%. First, right? From a mentor perspective, like if you're taking advice from those people, and it might be your parents who may have all the best intentions of the world, or Uncle Bob, or, you know, Brother Joe, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like someone in your vicinity that is trying to give you advice on this thing. If they've never done what you want to do, all they're going to do is project their experiences on you, whether it has been great or whether it has been average. Like they're not the right person if they haven't actually done what you want to do. And that typically shouldn't mean buying one property, because anyone can fluke one property that does all right. You can't fluke a 10 property portfolio. You can't fluke a 20 property. You would struggle to fluke, unless you're on really good money, a 5 or 6 property portfolio in all reality. So, and some people might take their advice from someone who has got to a 5-6 property portfolio, and then you might catch them if they're good enough for what they're explaining, and then you might need the next person's at 10 or 20 or whatever. But what I typically like to do, and what I would encourage people to do, is who is where you actually want to get to. Because you probably don't actually only want to get to a 5 or 6 property portfolio. If it's a 10, maybe that person's the right person to chat to. If they built it from the same position that you're in, just remember, not on $1 million, $2 million a year or something. Did they build it making the same income or close to what you're making? 10, 20 properties is probably what most people are looking to build towards, and will achieve what they're chasing in their financial dreams and goals. And if that's the case, that is who you need to be taking your advice from. Someone who has built it at the same level that you're starting from, because that is going to be a significant reference point for you to be able to work through the same things that they work through. And even flowing on from that, which is almost the same as an education piece, because having the right mentor should be the right education piece that comes from that too. But then the right education, and the reason I say education is typically you're only fearful in a scenario like this when you don't understand it. If you understand it, it's like right now, like I never get fearful investing anymore, because I've been through almost every scenario there is, and I've had to work my way through or in or out of just about every scenario that there is. And it no longer makes me fearful from that side, because I've almost always got a solution. Sometimes the solution is taking a haircut, or not, maybe not losing money on a property, but not making as much as you thought you were going to make on it, or something like that. And that occasionally happens in the game, especially with myself, with what I buy and how much I buy as well. But it doesn't mean you need to be fearful. And obviously, again, we're talking about very different levels and very different ends of the spectrum here. But I think what can really nullify fear and put it to bed is becoming educated on what you want to do. So if we're talking about debt, if we're talking about scaling, if we're talking about a different region, that no one's talking about, but like all the writing is on the wall and all these sorts of things, then it's understanding and being educated enough that will pay dividends because of what we're looking to do, and because of all these other factors as well. And I'm going to scale, and I'm going to go through these different avenues, and this is how I'm going to safeguard myself, all these sorts of things. So it's becoming educated with all the knowledge you need to effectively win at this thing and nullify the fear, because you've already become educated. Fear is typically the unknown, right?
Yeah, mate, you absolutely nailed it. You've obviously been looking at my notes, because you've just read word for word what I've written down, but that's okay. It's very like
I doubt that very likely. Can you pass that here pass it to the producer for a quick check there?
Well, what you did there, Sammy, was very quickly point out the real clear strategies on how to overcome fear.
Yep.
So first of all, we were talking about understanding fear and being comfortable with it, and knowing that, okay, it's not silly, it's not unusual. Okay, we understand it. And you've jumped into, well, what are the strategies to overcome it? Okay, anything you don't know of, well, if I understand it now, I can formulate a plan to overcome it. You've said it perfectly. Education, number one. The better educated you are, better questions you ask, better decisions you make, better results you get.
100%.
It's a very direct correlation. Bang on. Circle of influence, you've spoken about that. Of course, if you're listening, if I'm talking to my dad about property and I'm talking about you, right? Both of you probably way similar. But if I'm talking to you,
what's the muscle? What's the muscle percentage?
You're obviously going to give me a very different view on property, because you've won, right? Whereas someone who's lost money or hasn't done well, they're not going to give you the right advice. So those two strategies were bang on. The third strategy I would add to your point is really about executing, right? You can have all the plan and all the strategies, but unless you jump in the ocean and swim, right? Sink or swim, you got to get in. So you got to make a decision.
Yes.
Otherwise, you just analysis paralysis, right? So you can have all the best intentions, but unless you take action and execute, man, how many people do we see talk about it? How many clients that started chatting with you in 2020 and reach back out in 2024, 2025? Sammy, you won't remember me, but we had a chat
I remember everyone.
That's my point.
I know.
No,
I know
they say that, right?
I know that. And this is the crazy thing. The funny thing almost is I remember everyone. So when someone messages me, I almost always like Lukey, it blows Lukey's mind where he'll call me about a client. He goes, oh, he's got this property. I don't know if you remember it. And then I go, oh, you're talking about X, Y, Z at this number, at this price.
You remember the street.
Yeah, he's like, how the fuck do you remember that shit? You know? And I'm like, man, I just like, either I did the deal or I was closely involved in the deal and I know that person. I don't know, man. I always, someone tells me like, I know the name and I remember the story and I don't know what it is. But I think it's because I have a very vested interest in all of this. And man, I think it's prudent to unpack but fear is one of those things, man, that like, regardless of people that I spoke to 3, 4, 5 years ago that never pulled the trigger or pulled the trigger a year or two ago or whatever, man, it's one of those things like, we all go through it and we all have it, especially at the early phases of our portfolio. People at all different levels, man. And it's becoming educated, getting a great understanding of what you're doing. And if you don't, engaging someone, working with someone that does, and then pulling the trigger and moving forward from there. Exactly like you said, that execution piece. Man, I think back to investors like, man, Aaron and Joe, who started they started slowly when they first came on board, first started out, started slowly, wanted to dip their toe in the water, saw it worked, and then went hard. But they got started, man. They still dipped their toe in the water. Yeah. Dave Harwood, man, who I'm going to have, he's been a client, dude, for like 4 or 5 years. I remember, dude, I went and sat in his lounge room I think it was early 2020. I went and sat in his lounge room with his wife and his bloody newborn, and they were tossing me up against a big BA. And I said to him, I go, man, like for as long as time goes by that you're a client, you call me, man, I'll always answer the phone. Like that big BA will never give you that promise. And dude, he backed me. And like I remember, man, they were nervous, and then they pulled the trigger. They did the first deal, and I remember, dude, it was a deal in Crestmead, man, and a little house with a granny out the back. And dude, the thing's done like 130% worth of growth, and then they're about to sell it. And they bought it 3-4 years ago. But since then, because they had that win, now he's gone on to build, I think he's at 7 or 8 properties or something. Wow. He's about to come on for an investor story in a couple of months. And man, it's funny because like he's a super intelligent, calculative man. Both he and his wife are, Alicia. And man, it's one of these things like super calculative and intelligent. And sometimes that can actually be people's undoings.
100%.
Because they're so smart that they overanalyze everything and then they can't pull the trigger and they just like, they can't make that decision. Analysis paralysis, like you said. And what you have to do is, regardless of where you're coming from, regardless of intelligence levels, regardless of all this stuff, if you get yourself educated and you're working with someone, or even if you don't have the time to get yourself educated, work with someone that can give you the level of education you need and can execute for you on the highest level, but pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Either get yourself super educated if you're going to do it yourself, or get yourself educated and work with someone else, and then pull the trigger, man, because that is the most important thing. Because the craziest thing, man, is like so much fear is completely eliminated once you step past it. It's like someone that you don't want to call, or that, girl at the bar, or that first property, or whatever it is, man. Making those decisions, going and asking for something, you know what I mean? That like a pay rise or whatever it is. Those decisions in your life that are almost always the most fearful things that you'll ever do and that you're the most scared to do, there is so much good that's on the other side of it. There is so much of, man, I reckon 99% of people's untapped potential is just on the other side of that question or the other side of that action. Almost everyone. And we all go through it, man. I've been stalled so many times in my life. I'm thankful now at the age I am and the amount of shit I've been through. There's not that much that stalls me that I won't just go up and do. But yeah, man, it's so much is achievable in life and can be achieved just on the other side of those awkward and uncomfortable actions and moments. Whether it is any of those examples I gave before, or just pulling the trigger on the first deal.
Yeah. I mean, the quote that just comes out, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard it, that life begins outside of your comfort zone. And that might sound a little bit cheesy, but it's exactly what you're talking about.
It's true, but man.
It is so true. And the opportunity...
And the thing is, man, like, don't skip over that too quickly. Like, life begins on the other side of the comfort zone.
Yeah. It's true.
Think about it.
Yeah.
So many people, like I said before, 99% is what I said, probably at least 95% of people live their entire lives in the comfort zone. There is a reason why 92% of people get stuck at 1 or 2 properties.
Yeah.
But then think about it. That's 2.2 million people roughly in Australia. What about the other 25 million people that never even pull the trigger? They never even get started.
Those people should be the most fearful, because the cost of inaction and not doing something is going to be worse than the decisions you make.
Yeah.
The cost. And I've said this to you previously on another podcast that failure weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons.
Top 1%.
Anyone who has not done something, and the analysis paralysis, and you said it really well when you said a lot of people who know enough about something are often actually more dangerous than people that are completely ignorant because they overanalyze it. They don't do anything. They know just a bit too much to
they're waiting for that perfect opportunity.
It's never going to be perfect. So what is the real opportunity cost here? And those people that we're circling back to that called you in 2020 and reconnect in 2024, 2025, think about how much they actually lost. So that's what haunts me. And if I think back to my situation, I started working with you just before I turned 40. And I
haven't been in business that long.
Huh?
It was like 300 years ago.
I was interested in investing property since I was probably 20 or 21. I remember going to a seminar with my brother, probably I was 19. Didn't really understand what they were talking about. But so that's 20 years of time before actively doing something properly. And I remember I put my head in the sand so many times, Sammy.
Yeah.
I would go and listen to the seminars. I would go to the 3-day boot camps talking about all these strategies. I would pay for all these other courses and all that. It's like it made you feel good in the moment, but I didn't do anything. So the fear of inaction, I've been there. I'm not telling you from some high chair. I've been through the shit of not doing something and regretting it.
The other side of this though, man, and this is probably like a case in point, and like people, like they sometimes question around school of property and how much is it actually worthwhile and everything, right? You know what the issue is with all those courses and all those seminars? Because I did as well. And man, like when I tried to do those strategies, the amount of time I spent out of the market of trying to go on option properties and then go and, looking for all these crazy strategies and all the rest of the bullshit, all the, co-living spaces with ridiculous amounts of capital you have to throw in, all this sort of stuff, man. And like I looked and tried to do all this stuff thinking that each singular deal was going to be the golden ticket. When in reality, man, the simple moves done correctly trumps everything.
Yes.
Development, man, the amount of years I wasted doing developments and trying to find the correct sites and all the rest of the bullshit. If I just loaded up with bread and butters, man, I'd have a 200 property portfolio, not 100. You know what I mean? Like the amount of opportunity cost there is of everyone waiting for the perfect conditions, going and doing all the courses and the seminars and the options and the commercial, starting with commercial and all this sort of stuff. Like, man, there is such a tried and tested methodology of investing in Australia where you can win. And I think this is the biggest thing for everyone to take away from this is make sure you are getting educated in a strategy that you can easily implement or implement as easily as possible. You go and try and do some crazy renovations course or options or commercial or co-living, all these sorts of things. You're making the journey so hard for yourself. If you can build a great equity base with a 5-10 property portfolio over the next 2, 3, 5 years, mad. Then if you really want to go cut your teeth on something else and try something else, you've earned the right to try something else. But these golden tickets of these 3-day seminars that are $5,000, $10,000, all the rest of the bullshit, and how hard it actually is to achieve, anything off the back of these things as well, because you're expecting every deal to be the golden ticket and you need every deal to stack up absolutely perfectly. When so often the way to create serious wealth in this, obviously you become educated, you go buy in the right location, right property, right price, right location, mate, it will trump strategies, even if the other strategies were executed correctly, because of the leverage point and what you can do and understanding how to build a portfolio correctly, man, you cannot beat that. And so this is why, man, everyone, they like to look at all the next shiny thing or this or that or all the rest of it. Mate, stick to the basics. Become educated around the basics. Stick to the basics. Become high on the things that are going to move the needle to allow you to make the decisions. And this is where, I don't even remember what the title of your this podcast is, right? But obviously around fear, the easiest way to overcome whatever you are fearful about is become educated on it and then utilize someone or like whether you're utilizing someone or doing it yourself, but pull the trigger, or like become educated on the things that you're uneducated about, overcome that piece of fear there, and then obviously go out there and then pull the trigger with the new things that you've learned. Pull the trigger on it, man. Even if you just go, oh, I'm still nervous about this, I'm still a bit hesitant or whatever, no worries. Just pull the trigger on something. Because if you tick all the boxes correctly, stack the deck as much as we can with the correct things in the whether it's a property selection process before you buy a deal. If you stack everything correctly, or you use someone to stack everything correctly, and then you pull the trigger on that one thing, the result you're going to get as an absolute minimum, if that's all you do, will get you started and get you moving. But if you're further in the journey, and this is the other thing, man, I guess like we're probably targeting way too much of the people, the first timers, where we're struggling to get out and overcome it and get started and everything. But I think the other piece is some people that get themselves like 4, 5, 6 deals, and maybe they've got themselves to a point where they've got themselves into an okay position, but maybe they're stuck and maybe they don't know what to do next, and maybe the only thing that they're being told they can do is take out crazy levels of debt with a crazy loan rate or whatever. Now that might be right for some people, but do you understand your strategy correctly? Are you holding things that maybe you shouldn't be holding? And a lot of people get fearful about selling something. What's the opportunity cost of holding something and not being able to do something else, especially if a market's stagnating? It's understanding all facets. And that's why I'm saying of like in this podcast, I think will be relevant for whether you're at 0, 1, 2, 5, 10, 20. If you're at that next level, whether you're stuck or whether you're just unsure whether you should keep pushing or should I just consolidate and be happy with 100, 200, 300, whatever it is, you got to run through. What is it that you ultimately want out of this? Potentially, how old are you? How long do you want to keep working for? All these sorts of things, depending, regardless of where you are. Do I want to double down on this thing? Is it worthwhile? Or am I happy and should I just consolidate? You know, so I think it's like, and the other big thing is people starting a different strategy, potentially with someone else, following someone's, thing that maybe, misdirected. But in the last few years, it's pretty hard to probably be misdirected and still not get a semi-okay win in the last 3 to 5 years, as long as you bought something. It's then, okay, will what got me here get me where I'm trying? If I'm trying to get to a 20 property portfolio, but I'm stuck at 5, will what got me here get me there? The answer is no. And it's completely fine to retweak, retune, fine-tune your strategy. Throw it in the fucking bin and start again if you need to. But like if you've got the 5 property portfolio, you've probably got something good that we could work with to then maneuver into getting you to the 20. And man, I had one of my brokers message me earlier this morning going, "Hey mate, what's the most amount of properties you've ever bought for a client?" And then he followed it up with, he goes, "These clients that you bought these 3 deals for, we're going through your strategy around within School of Property, and I reckon I can get them 15 properties in the next 12 months once we offload these deals and start again and rebuild in this way, in this new way that we're going to go with them as well." It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
wow, that's incredible,
man. But it's like it's across so many different levels, and 15 properties in 12 months. So a lot of people will be like, "That's crazy," but man, even moving towards, like I said, the minimum of 2 deals a year. Like, is that a mindset shift for you? You've done 1 deal in the last 2 years or 1 deal a year for the last, 2, 3, 4 years or whatever. Can you double down on that? Can you challenge yourself to go to the next level? Because if you've got lofty goals, but then a low risk tolerance, there's a discrepancy there. You know what I mean? That you need to overcome. And it's understanding what is it that's slowing you down from your actual goals, or what is it that's stopping you completely. It's always a strategy around it. Man,
that's the thing I love about.
Strategy is probably the biggest way to get around fear.
I was going to say School of Property, and just hearing you talk about that, it meets people where they're at, regardless of if you're starting out and the fundamentals of just getting moving and overcoming that bit, or if you're at a 5 or 10 property portfolio and you're getting stuck from a serviceability or a structuring. Like, that's the thing I love about it. And when people are looking at it, well, is it relevant for me? Well, you're actually learning from a guy that's built out 120 plus properties. On every stage that you're going to need to go through, there is a blueprint. So if you're looking to overcome fear and you don't have the answers, but there's a blueprint, there's like a map showing you where the treasure is, so to speak, why wouldn't you follow that?
I honestly believe anyone that hasn't achieved what they're trying to achieve, unless they're on the perfect trajectory and there's no stop points,
which is unlikely, Semi.
Which is unlikely, but it's possible. We maybe have 1 in 100 people that are on that trajectory, which is sweet, which is like, congratulations, that's awesome. But anyone that isn't on that and they haven't done School of Property, it's like you don't know what you don't know. And if there's roadblocks coming up that are going to they're going to get you stuck. It's like you want to preempt the roadblocks so you can keep moving forward. Literally in the How to Build Your Strategy module, 12 lessons, I think, there's lesson 7 or 8 is unsuck your portfolio. And there's a lesson literally almost smack bang in the middle of it of if you get stuck, this is how you go forward, because things can always change.
Yeah.
We had a client, man, like 2 years ago, I did the investor story with young Liam Montgomery. And when we built out his portfolio and strategized it, like there was the way we built it initially, he wouldn't get stuck for like another 3 or 4 properties, right? And then the interest rates went up 4.25% in circa 12 months. And like the whole game plan that we put together for him, like within 12 months was kaput, you know what I mean? And so we had to take steps to realign his portfolio that would allow him to keep moving forward. And we did things he didn't really want to do in it. But now, he and Maddie have now combined forces, but his partner. But man, it's it's wild what you can change when you change perspective. And sometimes things need to change. And this is the thing, man. You may be on an amazing trajectory now, but you never know what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, from you personally, from the economy, from the banking side of things, finance side of things, from the property portfolio side of things as well, and the property market side of things too. So yeah, man, there's so many variables. Even look at like 18 months ago, I was purely about resi cash flow. Right. And now in the last 12 months, I haven't bought a residential cash flow deal for 12 months. It's only been commercial. And looking at going forward, the next probably 2 to 3 years in APS as a minimum, and myself, I won't buy anything but commercial for cash flow. I don't see the horizon changing anytime soon. But in 3 years, man, who knows what happens? Who knows what opportunity presents itself that will make a lot of sense in a different market or a different asset class. But for now, man, that's what it is. And you know, fluidly, sometimes you have to change to overcome things, man. I think this is the biggest thing. If we bring this full circle, fear is almost always not understanding something. So if you can build that knowledge around it, the understanding around it, and then strategize around that fear, man, that's how you overcome. That's how you win.
Can I just add into that? When you're like, this is great. The thing I love about where we're going is that no matter where you're at in your journey, you're getting, there is an element of fear that you're going to have to overcome. What I want people to also think about is don't get in your own way and let ego mask over your fear to make the right decision. And a lot of people, like when you say development, I don't know, there's something that just comes over me, and it's almost like when people talk about being an entrepreneur, it sounds really good, but it's almost like a false lens of, well, you're an entrepreneur, you're automatically successful. It's like in property, as soon as someone says I'm a developer, they think you're a baller and you've made a lot of money. Do not fall for that trap. How many developers do you know, Sammy, that have not done exceptionally well in property? They're barely making money to keep the projects going.
Heaps.
And they're experienced people. So for you just to want to say that you're a developer, like what are the numbers actually saying? So the fear, do I want to frame this correctly, but you need to be conscious of the fear because it's actually pointing you in a direction that you shouldn't be taking because you don't have enough self-awareness of where you're at. That is so important. I always used to think developing is the only way to make money.
Yeah, I remember I wasn't going to say it, but I remember you said to me when you came in, I want to do this so then I can go into developing. I'm like, why do you want to go into developing?
Because I was ignorant.
Yeah.
And
because you thought that's where the money was.
That's what I thought. Because I watched my brother-in-law do it and I thought, well, this is the only way people make money. And I remember saying this to you previously when Steve McKnight used to say, the whole point is to try and make as much money with the least amount of effort. I was thinking, hold on, that just doesn't make sense. How do you make a lot of money without any effort? Just didn't jerry to me. And then when we're talking about bread and butter deals, buy in the right location at the right price, the right market, 80% of the heavy lifting, do nothing. That there can't be much easier than that.
Leverage properly.
Learn properly.
Learn how to leverage
So
properly.
the self-awareness piece can actually help you or it can exacerbate your fear, and rightfully so, because you will get burnt and you won't do it again. So you need to be, the self-awareness piece is just so important. And are you doing it for ego or are you doing it for numbers? Right?
Man, it's a great point. You were on the speakerphone before when we were smacking some lunch, and Lukey called us. And speaking of ego, right? And and this client that got himself stuck, he did a few deals with us, and then he came back and we just told him what our wait times were at this is probably, I don't know, late last year. We told him what our wait times were at the moment because obviously we had a stock shortage, we'd close the books, all the rest of it. And he's like, oh, I'll go somewhere else. And then he comes back, 2 months, 3 months later, whatever it is, and he goes, oh, I'm stuck. I need you guys to help me. It's like, and then Lukey's like, I talked to you around the creative lending side of things, like what we needed to do and everything. He goes, oh, yeah, I know all about that. But it's like, well, fuck, mate, you don't know all about that because you are now stuck. And you went with a different BA that didn't help you from a strategy side of things. Not to also mention that the guy bought into an area that's already done 150% worth of growth. You know, he did 2 deals there and then he did something else in a mining town. It's like, mate, we can't help you now. You know what I mean? Like your arrogance and your ego came into the mix. Your impatience came into the mix. And now you're fucked. It's no one else to blame here but yourself. And I think, man, this is one of the things is like, that is the person that will fail. That is the person that will struggle and that will fail. Whereas if you look at the flip side of it of, well, what could that person have done? We get everything correct from the finance piece. We take our time, we be patient. We buy in the correct locations. Mate, happy days. Game on. Keep moving forward. Everything's a little blip in the radar. We sent out a video just recently to all the clients that have been waiting as well, and just said, obviously we apologise to everyone that's been waiting for quite a while, and we really appreciate everyone that's sticking by us, and obviously like we're going to repay this in the near term, but obviously in the long term as well, in terms of what we're going to build into your portfolio, and like people being super understanding of that because they're like, man, we're here for the long term. You know what I mean? Like and I said this is a small blip that we've got right now. that we had of a sub 500K price point where just so many markets just blew away and we didn't have the ability to source there. Yeah, man. And it was just, again, understanding that's a piece in the puzzle, but they're on the journey with us and we're on the journey with them to get them on the stage in 2030. Oh mate, they just went and fucked off because you couldn't wait 3 months for wait 3 months and be patient as we're coming into Christmas. That's why we closed the books. We're coming into Christmas. We knew it was going to be a slowdown. He's just gone and fucked himself. You know what I mean?
And his mistake was his own ego, right?
Yes.
But for clients out there thinking, oh, I can't make a mistake. No, you can. That is part of the fear process. That loop is you have a crack. You might get it wrong or you might, it might not work out, but the resilience to keep going is part and parcel of the course. You need to be able to handle that. You need to be able to handle the setbacks and all the potential mistakes and pick yourself back up. I stuffed up the very first property I bought. I've said it plenty of times. Should never have bought it. Should never have sold it. Completely cocked it up over 13 years of wasted time. So don't let that define you. You pick yourself up. You keep moving forward. What can I do now?
But I think the easiest thing, man, get yourself educated. Be patient as you need to be patient. And then pull the trigger appropriately as well, man. And that's the simple thing, man. When you do all those things, man, the fear should be eliminated because you're doing the correct things in the journey to get the result.
Yeah.
Mate, I think we're pretty good. Like, I don't know if you got anything else you want to throw in there from that perspective, man. Any other notes you had?
The final takeaway, Sammy, was about why now is always the best time to start. So the fear, and this is probably a big shout out more so for the people that are on the fence or are unsure, or because I find that's probably the hardest part is getting started. And so for the people that are already in the process and already in the journey, I think their ability to make decisions because they've done it before, it's about refining and avoiding the ego, which we spoke about before, and fine tuning, and then leveling up your tolerance of fear. The elastic band approach of being able to tolerate things going wrong.
Yeah.
There's fear in every aspect of as you level up. That's normal. But for the first timers out there, it's about just making sure that you can get started. And why now is better. Ideally, we would have all bought properties 10, 20, 30 years ago if we could. Why is today better than tomorrow? And there was this great quote from Les Brown that, I don't know if you know who Les Brown is. He's a speaker from the US. And he always talks about why now is the best time to start. And he says, the graveyard is the richest place on earth because it's here you will find all the hopes and dreams that were never fulfilled. The books that were never written, the songs that were never sung, the inventions that were never shared, the cures that were never discovered, all because someone was too afraid to take the first step. And I remember him saying that, and I was just like, it gives you that goosebump feeling because think about how many regrets you want to have at the end. And think about fear is at the cornerstone of all of those. So whether we're talking property or whatever, any aspect, that quote just always resonates with me about, start now. What's the worst that can happen?
And I think, man, it goes for wherever you are in your journey, whether you're at the start, you're in the middle, or you're nearing the end, or whatever. It's always being relevant and taking these things and applying them to where you are right now. Because there might be people who are trying to get in and they do anything to get themselves to 1 or 2 properties, and you might get someone who's sitting there at 4 or 5, and they're kind of a bit stuck about whether they should keep going forward. Or I had a couple of, I had a shitty tenant here, and I had a, insurance claim over here, and et cetera, et cetera. Stay the course. Keep moving forward. Keep pushing forward. What's the game plan? Make sure you're educated, keep moving forward. Like, that is how you get the results. I look at so many of the properties that I bought, especially in the first 10 to 20 deals in my portfolio. And for the first 1 or 2 years, a lot of them weren't amazing. Like, maybe I could get my equity back out of them or my deposit back out of them because I was leveraged so high. But a lot of them weren't amazing in the first 1 to 2 years, some of them for longer. But the compounding effect of when I had built my portfolio, and conversely, if I look at that compared to a lot of clients now, if they don't make $100,000 uplift in 12 months, they're like, oh, why hasn't this done this? And it's like, man, the amount of deals that I didn't get 100 grand in 3 years, you know what I mean? But I still pushed through. And what happened and what changed was sometimes you want to position yourself before a boom. And one of the biggest key things I could ever tell anyone is position yourself properly in a market before it booms. And that is, like, in my opinion, it's however many properties you can buy in that location before it takes off.
Yeah.
Because that's how you ultimately stack the deck to win on a big level, right? And so, man, like, if you're hesitating but you've had a win, and let's say you're 4 or 5 properties in, and the end for you is 10 or 12 that you need total in the portfolio before you do a consolidation and maybe own 4 of them outright. Don't stop now. Don't stop now. Don't stop at 1 or 2 if you've hit a little bit of a roadblock. We've all copped it. We've all copped shit in the journey. And whether you're using a BA or you're not using a BA, like, things are going to pop up. We're dealing with bricks and mortar and people. There's always going to be things that happen. And I think like the really important thing is just don't stop. Keep pushing with the journey. Man, if I look at every single month, I get the end of month report from our ops guy. I run through everything. I look at the amount of returning clients we have coming through and the amount of returning client deals we have. So signing back on and then actual deals going through. And at the moment now, for like the last 6 months, it might be because we've had the books, pretty much closed sub $550,000, $600,000 for a while as well. But like almost every single month is 50% plus returning clients coming back through, doing another deal, doing another deal, doing another deal. They're building out their portfolios, man. They're stacking the deck. They're stacking as many things in their favor as possible. So as these booms come through and as these growth runs come through and as these properties, whether they do 30, 50, 100% growth, they're stacking the deck and they're putting all these wins in their favor to then get that result. And not every deal is going to do 100 to 150% capital growth. But like, what is the ratio of, if let's say you buy 10 and 5 of them do 50 and 5 of them do 100, 150, whatever it is. Even if it was 5 at 50, 5 at 100. You still average out at a 75% growth rate across the board. If you bought deals at $500,000-$600,000, man, you're talking about literally like, $300,000 plus per deal, man. Actually, at 75%, you're talking closer to $400,000 worth of profit, per deal across the board on that as well. So, man, it's one of these things like you have to stack the deck in your favor every single time, man.
Their relationship of fear is different, right?
But this is what I'm saying, man. Like everyone, regardless of where they are in this process, wherever you are, don't let any little piece of fear come in and stop you. Get yourself educated, stick to the strategy. If it's minimum 2 a year, whatever you're able to do, keep pushing forward, keep stacking the deck, because that compounding effect of all these things rolling on top of each other, that's where the real wins come. And if I look at my journey, those first the first 7 years for me were an absolute punish. They were so hard. And if I hadn't got to where, and I'm just talking about just in my portfolio, it was an absolute mission. I had to go renovate every property, to get a little bit of equity out of the rest of it. Most of these guys are getting equity out, redraws enough to buy another deal in 3 to 6 months. 12 months, absolute worst case. I had to do like full-blown renovations just to try and get it out in the first 12 months on every deal. So I think it's one of these things, man, like keep moving forward, keep moving towards the journey, because when it pops, it'll pop properly. And you don't want to have the regret of looking back going, man, I wish I bought 8 properties in 4 years rather than 2 or 3 properties, So, and that's probably one of the biggest things I get of people who I've been working with for years. Like, man, I wish I doubled down on Perth when you told me to. Man, I wish I bought
me too.
The extra deals. Man, it's always the case. And dude, I look back as well and go, I wish I bought twice as many. But it's one of these things, like hindsight is a beautiful thing and all you can do is learn from it.
Yeah.
And the biggest regret most people have in a portfolio journey is not going harder sooner. So get yourself educated, man, get the full picture, make sure you got the right people around you, pull the trigger, keep moving forward. And that is how you're going to go as close as possible to guaranteeing yourself the result that you want.
Mate, I love it. I think we've absolutely nailed it. Something that just jumped into my head. It was quite an ironic thought, is that when you're starting out, you're fearful about buying a property because of the risk.
Yep.
As you start investing, you're fearful you're not going to have enough properties. So you're trying to buy as many as you can because your relationship and understanding of fear changes. So you just don't worry about that end position. Just try and get over the first hurdle and the first few. Because once you start seeing what it can do for you, you'll be thinking, I need to buy more. And the less risky I will become, the more properties I own. Because the more financial freedom you have, the better life and the freedom of choice. You can't get there without that first step.
The other thing I'm going to throw in here as well, and I think this is an extremely prudent thing to throw in. I think if it's like one of the cleanest pieces of advice I could ever give to anyone is stop listening to heaps of different people if you're wanting to invest in property or you're wanting to invest in shares or whatever it is that you want to invest in. If the strategy that someone is spouting and that you're listening to resonates with you and you think you can make it work, stop listening to everything else. If you listen to something about market updates or different things like that, no worries. But don't listen to anything else that can dissuade you from the strategy that you're currently on and the trajectory that you're on right now. I look at people that I've seen that have swayed off and they've gone and done a commercial deal 2 deals in, and you're like, well, you've just blown all your capital and now we can't do anything for 2 or 3 years, right? Or they go, whatever way it is that they pull everywhere. If something's working for you or it makes sense, stick to it. Stick to that, because You don't get results from bunny hopping to each different thing. It just doesn't happen. The compounding results are when you stick with one thing and push it forward. It's like in business. Can you imagine if you grafted every year in business for 1 year and then jumped to another business, and then grafted for 1 year or 2 years and then jumped to another business? If you did that every year or every second year for 10 years, you would get next to nowhere. But if you stayed in one business for 10 years, you'd probably be pretty fucking good.
That's a great analogy.
But jumping around everywhere. And whether that's literally like, and I'll be honest here and I'll be direct. If it's purely commercial, or if it's purely blue chip, or if it's purely renovations, purely co-living, or purely something like what we do, which obviously is a hybrid strategy, follow whatever it is that deeply resonates with you that you can do again and again, and stick with that one thing. Because the more that you do that one thing, the better that you'll get at it, the bigger your returns, and the less fear you have with it. Every time you jump around, you reset the clock on what your ability is, or your knowledge level is, your knowledge base is. So stop jumping around. Whatever it is that you want to do, whatever resonates with you, whether you're stacking strategies or whatever you do, stick to the one piece and the one game plan and do it, because that's what you're going to get over the long term. That is where you're going to get the results. You jump around, you're going to get a split result. You're not going to get the same thing. Just remember, the more you do something, the more it compounds.
Sammy, you couldn't have said it any better than that, mate. What a way to finish off. I think we've absolutely nailed it. I hope people have taken some great value out of this and applied it. If you obviously, there's going to be a lot of your circle of influence. If you're not already in the APS community, there'll be certain people in your family or your friends that are facing the same kind of fear. So please do share this kind of stuff on, because it does make a massive difference. 100%. So well done. It was very well said.
Jimmy, mate, I appreciate for a bit, which is good, man. It was really, really good. So
the intangibles, Sammy boy, these are the things, and we don't want people to just downplay these, because you are inevitably getting in your own way. You are in direct control, and the outcomes that you get are in direct reflection to every decision you do or don't make. So don't blame anyone else for you not being in a position. Don't blame fear on the news and all that. You have control over your decisions, and let your results be a relationship, direct correlation to those decisions. And we hope that we've empowered you to make the better decision, to overcome any obstacle, and get the results that you deserve, because you and your family are worth it. This is worth it. This is not about using APS or subscribing to SO School of Property. Like, it is about what is actually going to make a difference in your life. And if you overcome fear in your investing, there's a bloody good chance that you're going to overcome fear in your job, in your employer, with your boss, your other stuff in your life, that
you will level up.
You'll level up in everything. You can't. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? So we hope this has been helpful in some way for people out there, 100%. No matter where you're at.
No, 100%, brother. I couldn't agree more, man. Jimmy, thank you for coming on, bro. Sharing your wisdom as always, man. Driving a great mindset episode as always.
That's for Lukey.
Big mindset. Thank you, Jimmy. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Exactly as Jimmy's saying there. If you took some great value from this episode, please make sure you send it on to someone else who you think could also take some great value, or you think could really benefit from listening to this ep as well. Maybe they're stuck, maybe in the middle, maybe they haven't got started, whatever it is. Send this episode on and empower them to go to the next level alongside you. It might even be your partner, something like that. Guys, if you haven't left us a 5-star review yet, please jump on your favorite listening platform. Leave us a 5-star review. If you haven't hit that follow or subscribe button, we would really appreciate it. You hit the follow, hit the subscribe button. You get the updates when these episodes come out weekly, as soon as they come out, plus obviously the weekly news bulletins as well. And until next week, guys, that's us signing off for another Scouting Australia podcast.